This past week for Bitcoin was, well, kind of a nothing burger. After hitting 17,500, Bitcoin then bounced back up to about 21,700 and has since then not been able to break above that price. Looking at the weekly chart, Bitcoin is now deep within bearish territory. We haven't seen this type of a correction really since about 2018. And I noticed something very interesting about the current setup for Bitcoin. We have our main support just under 30,000 right there, and we're a few hours away from the weekly candle close, and we're going on our third week below that support level. What's interesting is that in 2018, Bitcoin had a very similar setup where it broke below its main support of 6K, and on that third week down, we were kind of sitting not at the bottom, but quite close. And while past performance does not guarantee future results whatsoever, I did find it interesting just how similar these two candle setups appear right now. And this is what I was just talking about, those two weeklies below the 6K level in 2018. Basically, we're currently at this point, that third week right there, right, where Bitcoin's kind of not really bouncing, just sitting within a small green weekly. And if we do see reversal to the downside, we'd be playing out something very similar to what we saw in 2018. And basically what that could mean is that we are near the bottom, we're at least close to the bottom, but we could be seeing lower prices soon. There's all kinds of indications that suggest we're close to the bottom. And one of those right now is one that has been getting a lot of buzz across crypto social media, and that is the Pi Cycle bottom indicator. Now, before we get into the Pi Cycle bottom indicator, this is the Pi Cycle top indicator. This is the first indicator that Philip Swift famously created back in April of 2019. And this indicator actually called that 2021 top at 65,000, right? It wasn't the highest high of the cycle, but it called the relevant top. And this top right here was in fact the highest volume top, much higher volume here than there was here. So this indicator was quite accurate, and this one definitely made its rounds on crypto social media. Everyone kind of knows this indicator at this point. But now we have the Pi Cycle bottom indicator, which is basically that indicator in reverse. And this has been calculated to basically match up with all previous cycle bottoms here. This moving average cross right here. If we take a look at that, right, we can see obviously marking that 2014 bottom, marking the 2018 bottom. And when this actually crosses, we would get a green triangle upon that cross to show up on the chart. What we can see right now over here is that we do not have that. The Pi Cycle moving averages have not crossed yet. They are quite close, right? They're getting there. And within a couple weeks, we may see that cross take place. And if this indicator is going to nail the bottom as it nailed the tops in all of these cycles, well, it's very likely going to happen quite soon, which kind of supports the idea that I was just talking about, that we're at least near the bottom. Lower prices are possible, but it's looking more and more like we're getting closer to a bottom. And if that is true, this 2018 weekly fractal, which we're currently sitting around somewhere like this may actually have a shot to play out in this way. Again, if we are this close to the bottom with the Pi Cycle bottom moving averages nearly about to cross, getting slightly more downside to touch prices like 16,200 as this fractal would suggest is a possibility. And the way I'm coming up with that number, 16,200, is if you just go back to this fractal here and you just mark up that weekly candle close, that second week down to the next low. It's about 20% down from close to bottom. And if we just do that again here, I guess if we want to be very, very specific here, it would be roughly 16,300, right? So 16,300 is, so that would be, that's that weekly fractal right there. And having another week down with a touch off of a price level like that would once again allow the Pi Cycle moving averages to come in, give us a cross before nailing that bottom. Now, what's interesting is that I made a video a couple weeks ago, and the Daily Hodl crypto news website actually made an entire article based on my video discussing what a true bottom would look like. If we scroll down, they took this snapshot from my video where I was saying, find a low, test for a lower low, and look for bullish divergence on the weekly time scale. Right, and so this is not really all that perfect, but if it was going to play out, we would basically have to see Bitcoin come up for a week or two here, and then test down to that possible 16,300 price level before it bounced, and maybe that would give us some kind of divergence there before breaking out again. Basically lower low on price, a higher level on the weekly RSI, before then some kind of reversal taking place. Now, this is all very speculative. You could even say this is almost like a crystal ball type prediction with the way that I drew this out here. But it's just a way that I have seen, bottoms come in. It's kind of common for that to take place. So we'll see. Basically, that would allow enough time for the pi cycle to come in and take that cross right there. But we will see. We will see how this all plays out. We will, when this indicator flashes, that will be a very telling signal. Now, I just want to make a quick mention here of the current situation in crypto. I was making this post on Twitter today saying the destructive domino effect that we've seen unfold in the crypto market is historic. We had an over-leveraged market, starting with the Luna collapse, creating downside pressure. Bitcoin miners began capitulating, going out of business, going bankrupt, which then led to further downside, which bled into the lending platforms, all the lending platforms we've been seeing, Now there's talk about BlockFi, Celsius, all these lending platforms. It's like a domino effect, right? And I was saying here that it's hard for me to believe that all of this would just end now all of a suddenly and then we would just recover. There's possibly more blood to come. So, while I'm looking at all these fractals, trying to make these predictions about the short term here, it's very difficult to make a good educated guess on exactly what's happening here and how this is all going to unfold. I'm just providing you guys with what I think is most likely, right? So keep that in mind. This market is quite unstable right now. Anything is possible. Right now, Bitcoin is playing out almost the exact same type of pattern on the monthly chart that it plays out or has played out in all previous cycles. It's almost the spinning image currently. We have an upward sloping trend line, which we break below. Then we remain below this downward trend line for at least half a year to a year after finding the bottom, then break out closer to the halving, run up, create a new trend line, same formula all the way through. So 6 months to a year, sideways, probably 6 months, then bust out of that trend line and form a new trend going into the next halving, right? But remember, there's a lot of sideways that usually takes place in that range. So that's the bad news, but the good news is that it's likely the area of max opportunity for the long term. So guys, I just want to recap all of my thoughts here today, talk about some potential scenarios in this market right now. And it's going to be interesting to see if that pi cycle bottom thing really plays out. Head over to kevinsvenson.com, sign up for Cryptowatch for free. This is the platform that I use all my videos right here. I just updated my website, made it quite simple, easy, user-friendly, I would say. Join the VIP and Patreon to get in our Discord. And that's it, guys. I will talk to you soon.